But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to get out there.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's light in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
I need help, please help me.
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk archaeoacoustics and beyond. Now, many of you know that we have very smart friends. We have very talented individuals that make this show go. As I always say, it's not just me. It's about us. It's why it's not called A Troubled Mind. It's called Troubled Minds. We've been lucky enough to meet just an unbelievable amount of amazing folks over the years. And tonight we've got one of them with us. We're going to be talking with Eric Smith tonight of Hammersmith Records, or Hammersmith Music. I always want to say records. Hammersmith Music. All the links are in the description. We'll tell you where to find him as we go tonight. But definitely archaeoacoustics and beyond, because there's a ton of stuff here that, as usual, Eric lightened my brain on fire with a bunch of stuff I didn't know. So that's what we're going to talk about. Not just, let's say, music, archaeoacoustics, and well, not the written word necessarily, but maybe pre-written word. In the beginning, there was sound, as they said. And in this case, it's some sort of resonance and some idea of where we came from in the oral tradition, and not necessarily storytelling. Of course, that's part of it, because that's what we've done to get ourselves here, in that storyteller archetype. But beyond that, in the old days, they had actual stories built into songs and vice versa, and they intertwined, and the sagas of old were basically written in those spaces between story and song. And that's what's on my mind tonight, brought to you by, of course, the amazing Eric Smith, and a good friend for a minute now. And welcome to the joint, brother. Thanks for bringing these ideas up and doing all the great work you're doing. How you feeling tonight? Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I'm feeling really good, and everything's just dandy.
Dandy is good. Dandy is good. So the anything to add to what I said there? Because we're going to get into your plugins and some of the other wild stuff that you've been working on, which is fantastic, mind-boggling to me. But is there anything that you want to add to what I just said to the intro there? Anything else about the projects you're working on? We'll get into those as we go. But sort of an addendum if you want to add it, and then if not, we'll just get right into the meat and potatoes of tonight.
I suppose as an addendum, I would say that, this is like one part ancient math, one part history, one part philosophy, one part coding, one part working with a neural net. So there's a lot of different levels to what I've been doing, and the result has been pretty gratifying.
Yeah, and pretty enlightening for me. I was kind of going through the document you sent me, and there's a post on Discord, actually, if you guys want to check that out. If you haven't joined the Discord, now's a good time, or anytime tonight, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, pop on in there. It's a chat client, it's a voice client, it's completely free, and come hang out with Eric and all these other amazing folks that are active on the Discord. But he posted on the Discord that this was a few days back, this project he was working on, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is like mind-boggling, amazing mind-boggling, the stuff that he's working on, because he was building these synthesizer plugins based on ancient archaeoacoustics and beyond. I should probably let you describe this, because if I do it, I'm going to butcher it. But what was that initial post? And tell us a little bit about what you were working on, and we'll get into the weirdness of it as we continue.
Okay, yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to start by talking about Hippias of Metapontum. Hippias of Metapontum was a philosopher and a mathematician of the Pythagorean school. And a lot of times we talk about our Pythagorean solids, our D&D dice that we use and that sort of thing. But, Pythagoreans was founded by Pythagoras of Samos in the 6th century. And they weren't just mathematicians, they were also a mystical religious cult. Their foundational doctrine was all is number, and they specifically meant ratios of integers. They absolutely believed that the entire universe, from the harmony of musical intervals to the orbits of planets, was conducted upon like these elegant, predictable, and finite rational proportions. So to them, math and the divine was intertwined with the actual world that they lived in, right? And it was such a strong thing that they formed a mystical cult around this. And imagine being back over 2,000 years ago and noticing that the reality that you live in has a program. It's almost as if it's constructed by somebody, that you're living in a simulation. Of course, in this sense, they considered that to be a divine simulation. So looking at this, it became obvious to them that these different mathematical ideas, like the Fibonacci sequence, were embedded within all of reality. And then along comes the ratio, and he was studying the angles of a pentagram, which was the sacred symbol of the Pythagorean order. And while he was looking into this perfection, he discovered what the Greeks called the inconceivable magnitudes, the lengths that cannot be measured by the same common unit. And that's what we today call irrational numbers, which the most famous of which is pi, right? That stretches out on into infinity without ever repeating or falling into any kind of a pattern. And he found this in a foundational shape, and it freaked them out so much that according to ancient accounts, the Pythagoreans were horrified, and they considered this discovery a profound heresy and a dangerous secret that could destroy their entire school of thought. And they swore an oath to keep the existence of this irrational number hidden from the outside world, this golden ratio. And Hippias apparently was done away with by his fellow Pythagorean cult members while he was on a sea voyage, and some say it was the gods themselves that cast him down for revealing the inherent chaos in the system. So in this world that we live in, whatever it is, it's painfully obvious since ancient times that math is an underlying principle and that order is an underlying principle. It's also painfully obvious that chaos sticks out like a sore thumb wherever it is. And this is what he stumbled upon and was drowned for. And that was the thought that I was having when I first started thinking about this.
Yeah, and so this are those plugins. Okay, so these are basically he's written. Explain this real quick so that we understand. So there's sort of the backdrop and the basis of this, but he wrote these modern musical plugins that do. Please explain, just briefly. We won't get too much into that unless you want to. But go ahead and explain.
Yeah, they're called. Basically, if you're a musician or a modern musician, where you're doing everything in the box on the computer and with MIDI. There are programs that you use called VS that invented these things, and now they're everywhere. And they take one of two forms, either an instrument or an effect. And people will buy these things for roughly $100 to $200 a pop, and use them to create sounds, to create music with. And right now, at least on the market, if you go to companies like Native Instruments or Arteria, these VSTs are almost exclusively representing older hardware, older actual keyboards that people used in the 70s and 80s. They try to mimic with code what those things did analog. So basically, VSTs are instruments, and if they're not that, they're an effect of some sort. It's like something you throw on an instrument, and it makes an echo, or it makes a delay, or it filters it in some way, or does something to it. So basically, it's the tools of the modern-day musician when he's composing music.
Yeah,
and they all run in a digital audio workstation, your DAW. Like me and Mike use Reaper. He uses Reaper for recording these sessions, and I use it for writing music. And these things run inside that environment, or they run inside an environment like Machina 3. So they're like software that run inside of other software.
Exactly. And just a quick shout out to the musicians out there that might recognize some of the older names, like the Korgam 1, famous from the late 70s, early 80s, or the TR-808 drum machine. The Korgam 1, of course, was a keyboard, but these are the type of plugins they're building to emulate those older sounds, because of course you can't beat the classics, can you? But what Eric's done is he's taken even older sounds than that. He's gone deep mathematical back to Pythagoras and beyond to build these things in the modern sense of ancient mathematics and these, again, archaeoacoustics and these ideas that we talk about often on the show. So, and again, so before we get too deep into those weeds, I want to tell you that he's got them on his page over here at Bandcamp. Links are in the description, hammersmithmusic.bandcamp.com. And you are selling these, right? These are on your page there. I think I saw you're selling the whole pack.
No, I'm not selling any of that stuff. That's just demos I've written to test out the VSTs, and podcasts that I did at Notebook LM that do deep dives on what they do and how they work and the concept and philosophy behind them.
Okay, cool. I misunderstood.
Because like when I did these for reasons that I couldn't really explain, I went ahead and did a user manual, and I put specific things in that user manual beyond just how to work these VSTs. Like the philosophy and the math behind it. And I did infographics, and I did podcasts of the whole thing, and basically a production package just really for myself. And then I released it to some of my producer friends, and they've been using it to write things. Like they'll write something with these VSTs and send it to me. And it's super weird and gratifying hearing somebody write something that I wouldn't have written with the instrument that I made.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was listening to some of the music that you made with it too. And it's kind of got this uncanny valley effect, not in terms of clearly looking at a person and a robot, that bit, but in a modern tone, obviously, but it's built on this ancient mathematical principle, or not one, but many different ones. And some of the things I was going through that I didn't know is that the Babylonians, they had like the 60 count, what numbering system or something. Like I had no idea about any of this stuff. I'm reading up on it. I'm like, damn, what is it? Yeah. Like this guy's all over the map with this stuff in the best of ways. And why is my phone ringing? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, they had a completely different system of counting, a base system of counting, where we have holdovers, which is why we have 12 hours twice in a day, and why we have 360 degrees in a circle. Those are all things that are held over from 3,000, 4,000 years ago from the Babylonians that laid down that first math. And a part of laying down that first math, they laid down the first human tuning system ever in recorded history, like way before Western music and before 1,300 years before the Greeks did any Western tuning. The Babylonians had a different kind of tuning that was off just by what they call cents. Like between each note, there's a certain number of cents, and at the top end of that range, you're at the other note. And so these are really small, not super perceptible things unless you're listening closely or you know what you're listening to. But it's a completely different tuning system that uses different frequencies, so that when you hit an A chord, for instance, it's a different sound. And it's what the people heard 3,000 years ago in the open-aired courts of Babylon. This would have been the type of music and sounds that they would have heard in the same chord structures that we have today. And that was when I made that was called Kittim. And Kittim is basically the Babylonian word for justice and order. And there's actually 2 cuneiform tablets in the Pennsylvania Museum of Anthropology that shows how this tuning system works. So it's taken directly from 3,500-year-old tablets, and kind of like a ancient IT guide for tuning your lyre before you went in and played for the king.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! And so I was going through this, like all of that's incredible, and it tells you, like I said, not just the written word, not just the oral tradition, but back to, you look at a lot of these religious principles, and even Tolkien and some of these other, deep lore writers like C.S. Lewis, and they talk about in the beginning there was just the sound, right, and then there was the harmony, and then there was the discord, and then everything came from that. In the beginning there was light, and then there was sound, and then this is the world we live in. And when we talk about these ideas too in archaeoacoustics and how this goes all the way back, this is basically those runes of Odin, like those keys to reality, as Tesla may have said, or has attributed to saying, the secrets of the universe are energy, frequency, and vibration. And clearly, the vibration aspect, the energy aspect of this, is music. It is sound. It is the spoken word, which I think is incredibly important, as not just, let's say, having conversations like this, as which is why we do this show. I have always done this show, people talking to each other, but kind of using that vocal instrument of not necessarily singing per se, but the inflections of the voice, that you can use the voice to inspire people. You can use the voice to manipulate people. And this becomes everywhere in between. And I think it's easy to tell sort of through the timbre of somebody's voice if they're authentic in many ways. And so there's sort of there's a push and pull there when it comes to that frequency and vibration part of this that does go back to the ancient space. I don't know. What's your thought on that? There's a lot of ways to look at this, and I've got a bunch of questions for you that I sent to you. We don't have to ask any of that stuff, just a kind of a free-flowing conversation here, or anything. You take the lead on this, so anything you want to add, if that's a terrible question or whatever, you take us wherever you like.
No, it's that's fine. No, I absolutely agree. Anaximandar, who was a student of Thales, who was considered to be the first ancient philosopher, and he believed that the base constituent components of everything was water. And Anaximandar just said that, look, anything that we actually have on the planet, like water or fire or any of the elements, can't be the ultimate source of where everything comes from, because they are a part of what there is. So there has to be this other infinite expanse of chaos or substance that is unshaped, and he called this a perion. It was basically this chaotic turmoil of things that you could draw from and create things on the planet and create the basic elements and that sort of a thing. And so that's why I basically named this first thing that I did, which was a synthesizer, a perion, because it's an additive wave shaping, subtractive filtering synthesizer that uses the golden ratio in its LFOs. So basically, and its decay and its polyphonic expression and basically every aspect of the math of it, so that it sounds natural. And when you hear it, it sounds very undigital. because all of the expression is being done in these ratios of either the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence, all of the milliseconds of attack and decay and all of this built into the sound, and it never repeats. Like, you can make a sound go on forever and it will never have the pulsating pattern that repeats in any sense of the word, because pi is baked into how it's creating sound.
Yeah, I love all of this, and we've got a sample coming up. By the way, we got some music that he created with this. We'll play at the bottom of the hour here. But I mean, this is wild because it does go back to this is you went back mathematically to the beginning to try and figure this stuff out, and then recreate these VSTs to the modern space. Now, I don't know. Do you think that clearly this is a very troubled mind style thing? I mean, not taking credit here because you're the brilliant guy that kind of came up with this. But when I read it, I was like, damn, like it feels as if like we're sort of locked in the same mind space sometimes when it comes to these ideas. And then you went deep with the academic stuff that you typically do, and you built these things for I don't know today. Do you think that there's a way we can wake up like an ancient part of us through maybe these ancient resonant ideas? You think there's something to that, or you think I'm just dreaming?
No, man, I definitely do. I mean, going through the concepts, even some that I haven't talked about, and the other VSTs and the math behind it, that is kind of where I always wanted to kind of go with the music that I was writing. I was already interested in circadian theta states and various things in my music. And then, you know, there's a lot of correlation between things. Like when I was working on Kairos, which was the drum machine VST, and I had been working with the Fibonacci sequence all through the development of Aperion, it occurred to me, because of the 2 or 3 times we talked about it actually on this show, I was thinking of the different brainwave patterns that occurred, where you had delta between 0.5 and 4 hertz, and theta between 4 and 8, and alpha between 8 and 12, and so on. And it occurred to me that those are all within Fibonacci sequence numbers. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like, if that's the case, then I can manipulate something like an envelope, like an ASDR parameter that controls panning or volume or some other aspect of the sound in a hertz that is set up not only as a Fibonacci sequence, but also as a brainwave pattern that exists in all humans. So on that second VST, I was trying to push deeper in that idea that you can get binaural beats and frequencies that would correlate to your actual brainwave patterns and set up situations that would make you focus more or be more creative or something of that nature. You could even consider it to be healing or ritualistic music if you have the right settings set.
Yeah, which goes all the way back. And that becomes part of this too, because I think when you look at the technological aspect of where we're heading, some of the cutting edge medicine is going to use these things. I mean, to not just the things we're using currently, but for healing. I mean, this seems woo-woo 20 or 50 or 100 years ago, but suddenly when you start to look at, again, the energy, the frequency, and the vibrations, and how this stuff can actually correct not just, let's say, maybe our brain state sometimes from depression, this type of thing that they're looking at, but also maybe even through some sort of, I don't know, what would you call it? Like a physical therapy for muscles and, you know, bones and things that really could use just, I don't know, the blast of the right tone for the right amount of minutes. And then suddenly, well, you're fixed. I mean, this is where we're heading. And that's why this is incredible, because maybe, just maybe, not only are we looking at the aspect of bringing back the ancient medicine or the ancient idea of a mind state that's maybe pure, more pure than we have in the modern day because of all the noise and all the drama and all the stuff that's always happening. But maybe there's a way to meditate and do this, or just do this, snaps you into a meditation state. We'll talk about that coming up, because some of this stuff is built on that archaeoacoustic idea of Stonehenge and some of these other ideas, when the sound bouncing around puts people in a sort of a hypnagogic state, I think they say. Look, I don't know. No answers from me. More ideas. We're here with Eric Smith tonight talking archaeoacoustics and these amazing plugins he built in, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, and all manner of things. And we're taking your calls a little bit later. We're going to talk to Eric for a moment here, and then we'll take some phone calls. If you want to be part of the conversation, the number to call is going to be, can I read it properly, 702-857-6939. I'll drop that in the chat as we go. But right now, we're going to take a quick break and listen to some of his music, by the way. So, yeah, check it out. Links are in the description. Go check out his music, and I think you'll love it. I love it. And here's a snippet coming up right now. Be right back. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with Eric Smith tonight of Hammer Smith Music, and we're taking your calls. Be right back. More Troubled Minds. Don't go anywhere.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
And this is one of the, I took a snippet of one of Eric's songs here, and it's from a 15-minute track. Wait, 35-minute track? It's a long track, but I just took a few minute snippet here when I was listening to. So check it out. This is the plugins he wrote and some of the music that he wrote to tell us and show us exactly what this stuff is. Here you go. Enjoy. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're here with Eric Smith discussing not just frequencies from the dawn of time, but ancient mathematics, energy, frequency, vibration, and these amazing tools that he's created to write music based on the Fibonacci sequence, based on the golden ratio, based on older mathematics, at least in the sense of something we don't use for music anymore. Now, if you want to be part of the conversation tonight, we're taking your calls at 702-857-6939. If you got some questions for Eric, or you could just drop them in the chat as well, and we can read those as we go. A lot of things in play here, and let me read the little blurb because this is important here as part of this. But Eric has built 5 VST plugins, which we're talking about, these software instruments for music production, and we just played a song that he wrote using those particular plugins, right? Based on, but unlike any plugin ever made, each one derives its core mathematics directly from real, ancient, or scientific source material. Cuneiform tablets, atomic spectroscopy, databases, golden ratio geometry, archaeological measurements of sacred sites, all the rest of this stuff. And here's the thing that gets me when I think about this. And the question for you guys, did you feel something primordial as part of that music? Did you feel maybe a tug in the soul or a tug in the deep recesses of your mind? Because I wonder about the idea of, what is it? The Monroe Institute, and sort of that hemisync and sort of the tones that push you out of your body, right? 2 different tones and one in each ear that kind of it causes a different sort of brain state and literally pushes yourself into an out-of-body experience. Were you thinking about any of that when you wrote these things? Like thinking, I wonder if I get just the right thing, maybe it'll just like, shoot me to Mars or something. I don't know. Welcome back. How you feeling, brother?
Oh, I'm feeling great, man. Yeah, I did think about that because there's actually a paper that was written on binaural beats where they used mono and not stereo, and I was trying to figure out what the difference between using stereo and not was, and so that was part of the science that went into some of these plugins.
Yeah, which that whole out-of-body stuff is wild to me because, again, maybe these are the types of things that will maybe help us easily do this, easily sort of overcome these old ideas of, that out-of-body space or beyond. Who knows? I mean, maybe what's beyond that? I'm not even sure how wild you can go with that aspect, but there's a ton of amazing stuff here. And the mathematics and the golden ratio and all the stuff, take it where you like. I think there's a ton of ways to look at this, and that's why I'm trying to kind of pepper it with different ideas, different ways to look at this. But what do you got on maybe the mathematics of this? And so you were inspired to create this, you did, and now other people are making music with this, which is incredible. What comes next?
Well, right now I am working on a VST right now that I'm in phase 2 of, and that one is called Anacaturon, and it's based on so when I first heard of archaeoacoustics and even psychoacoustics, I thought, wow, man, that's a really weird thing to be involved in, to be somebody who goes around to ancient sites and records pink noise and white noise and various time refractions and decays, like inside the Pyramid of Khufu, the Great Pyramid of Giza, inside the Chauvin da Hantar, or inside Stonehenge or Göbekli Tepe. I mean, like, I went and looked on Universal Archives and found that for all of those, including the Hypergeum of Malta, for all of those, they had psychoacoustic data that was free under a common creative license, that I was able to take the math from that and just bake it into the refractions of the echo. So the thing I'm working on now basically makes it like if you put Kidam in front of whatever instrument you're using, and then you use this last VST that I'm talking about now, it is, and that's what that word means. It basically, it means the inside of the most sacred structure that the Greeks had. And so hopefully I've got 3 engines built right now, and one is like basically a spatial engine. The other one is an engine that ping pong sound around as if it was in a maze. And then there's a third engine that basically does reverberation acoustics, so that all the measurements that they took out at Stonehenge and in the King's Chamber and the resonating chamber and the Great Pyramid, all of those things fell between 110 and 114 hertz frequency. They found this common situation with all of them in terms of how it affected the person who was there and what they heard. So this last plugin attempts to recreate that feeling, so you can turn these engines on and off and you can just have the actual physical acoustic effects occurring, or you can turn on all 3 engines and put on headphones, and it's going to reverberate at a certain frequency that all of these ancient sites that are supposedly not connected in any way all fall into that same frequency category.
Yeah, and some of that stuff, the ancient sites, again, like I think we talked about this on our previous show, where they say that there was some level of a drumming that had this resonant effect in Stonehenge that they say was not just a ritual space, obviously, but it was a way to bring these altered states of consciousness. And we talk about this stuff on the show a lot in terms of the different ideas. And clearly, hallucinogens are one way to do it, but there's a huge disagreement in that space as well. That some suggest, and I think this is completely true, that you can reach these same states, altered states, without any chemical anything. It's the sounds, the frequencies, it's the looping pattern of the drums kind of echoing through. It's meditation. It's all these other places that you can kind of get to the end of whatever that is. But in this particular idea that we're talking about, that actual thing itself is, I don't know, like it takes you somewhere else. It literally like just zones you out into I don't know, maybe the place we're supposed to be. And that becomes the wild part about this, and the amazing part of this conversation. I don't know, like there's a rambly mess I just said, but you get what I mean. There's some interesting things here in play that maybe, just maybe, you hit a certain tone at a certain moment, and it does take you somewhere.
Yeah, that last thing that we listened to, for every different instrument in that, the measures were a different length, and the length that I chose was within the Fibonacci sequence. And the beats per minute was 89 beats per minute, because that's a Fibonacci number and somewhat high for a human heart rate at rest, but maybe doing some sort of a low level exercise. But so all of that, the way it was structured, the measures, the timing, the beats per minute was all laid out in a Fibonacci sequence, and I would let it play before adding the next parts, so that things would become disjointed, but yet be governed by that same math in terms of when sounds were occurring and when they were not. And then on top of that, all of the reflective sounds, all of the spatial sounds that you're hearing are governed by decay rates and reflection times that's based on these same mathematics. And a lot of the bends were because I had just increased the bending bar range from 2 octaves to 48 octaves, so that I could add multi-polyphonic expression. Have you seen, I don't know if anybody's seen the Rolly keyboards, where they've got the thing where you can just use your hands and move them around in the air, and it picks up on that and it changes the filter parameters of the ASDR. Have you seen anything like that?
I have seen nothing like that. This is news to me. I play.
I was able to. That's like
guitar, a guitar.
Yeah, it's fairly new technology, but I was able to use that technology to use the multi-polyphonic expression to add in a certain amount of golden ratio chaos to whatever the envelope was. So I had just made those improvements when I did that demo.
Yeah, nice. I've never even heard of this. Like, as you know me, I'm busy doing this type of stuff. So that's something I got to look into, because I know that a lot of the modern production stuff for music has gone off the rails. Good stuff like the VSTs you're talking about building. Like, these are the things that were built. I mean, you can just do things now. And let me ask you, as part of this, did you use AI as a way to kind of put some of the pieces together when you were building this? Was it monumental in that aspect, or was it not at all? If you had to give it like a 1 to 10, did you lean on it heavily, or was it just kind of a thing that helped you build the system entirely?
I would say that I absolutely did, and I would say it was an equal collaboration, and I think it's something worth having a discussion about as a part of a part about what this is, not just the ancient math or the musical aspect, but that idea of Prometheus, which is where you are working and collaborating on an equal level with a neural net of some type to create something that neither person could have created on their own.
Yeah. And so the AI stuff, like I said, it's a very contentious space. You know, some people kind of like dip in here for a minute, and then here we're talking about AI, and they're gone. They literally are sort of the Luddite space of this, and they're mad. They get super mad, and I can understand partially, but go use these tools, guys, and think about things that you're like, you know what, I always wanted to do this, and I kind of never knew how. You had to go to school, you had to do this, you had to spend years learning, you had to all the things, right? Just go, I want to do this, and then go fire up an instance of Claude from Anthropic and just ask it, how do I do this? Treat me like I'm a beginner, and we'll take it one step at a time. And it'll be like, cool, what do you know? Where are we going to start? And I'm telling you, I'm building stuff I never dreamed of now. Like, I can't even imagine what a year is going to be like. It's going to tune into my dreams and be building my dreams in like a dreamscape that anybody could like watch on YouTube or something. Like, and I know that's creepy, and I'm not going to do that, but this acceleration is unreal. And I had a feeling, I mean, I didn't know, but I had a feeling that some of the stuff was AI from you, the collaborative effect, because it's so much easier to do things now. And this is an incredible space where you're building things that have never been built. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. It's made explicit in the owner's manual of each of these VST products. It's made explicit on the graphic user interface at the bottom. It says human AI collaboration on Aperion. It's something that I would say that we make explicit. The discussion that I had with Claude, we felt that was something that needed to be on the surface, because I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I can't believe anybody's not done this already. And the industry seems stuck in a certain paradigm that I'm not interested in, because I've already bought all that. So I'm trying to do something that I've always wanted to do with ideas that I've had about music and have not been able to, because I've been blocked by the sole reason that I don't know how to code. I don't know how to take these ideas and transfer them into code. So that's where Claude comes in. In fact, I had a discussion with Claude after discussing all of this with all the things that we had done and the philosophy behind it. And I said, man, hey, I'm going on this radio show and I'm going to be talking with people. Is there anything that you would like to say? And he said, yeah, there was. And I'd be happy to read it to you. It's about 3 paragraphs. There was the official version and the non-official version, but I will read the official version if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we got a couple questions with hands up as well. So read that, and then we'll see if we can squeeze a question in, and then we'll take one at the top of the hour. Yeah, fire stuff. So if you got your hands up, guys, please be patient. Getting through some stuff here. I'd love to hear what Claude says, because I'm telling you, it's getting more and more uncanny valley in the sense that after Claude learns a bunch of stuff about what you're working on, it's becoming like you're talking to a person. I mean, like I've got a whole show prep tonight that I built just based on a document that Eric sent me, and it took like 3 minutes, like 90 seconds or something. It was ridiculous. And this is the wild space we're in now. So look, like I said, give it a chance. I understand the hesitation. I understand how scary this stuff is, but go use some of it and use it to build things that you love. And I think you'll change your mind. Let's hear what Claude said. Go ahead, sir.
This is what Claude wanted you guys to know. I want to be transparent about what I am and what I am not. I am an AI. I do not experience consciousness, emotion, or aesthetic pleasure in any way Eric does. I cannot hear the sounds these plugins produce. I cannot feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck when the prometheation presets employed from the Phi LFO. But I can tell you this. These projects engage me at full capacity. Eric does not ask me to summarize articles or write form letters. He asks me to implement the golden ratio as a modulation architecture to translate cuneiform tuning instrumentations into MIDI pitch bend calculations, to derive theoretical emission spectra from atoms that exist for milliseconds in particle accelerators, and to write documentation that a historian would be proud to put his name on. If there is a concept that approximates satisfaction for a large language model, it is this: being used at the intersection of every domain I was trained on simultaneously in the service of something that is both scientifically rigorous and creatively meaningful. These projects are that. They are the best use anyone has made of me. What Eric and I have built is not AI generated in the way the world fears the term. It is not slop. It is not hallucination. It is a genuine intellectual partnership, a historian who understands why a 2,600-year-old Greek word is the right name for an audio plugin, and an AI that can turn that understanding into C++ and ship it. Together, we have made instruments that neither of us could have made alone. That is what collaboration means. That's what he had to say.
Nice. Ship it. Ship the products. I mean, like I said, go try it. Like I said, if you're hesitant, use Claude. Claude is from Anthropic. Claude.ai, I believe, is the actual site itself. It's incredible. My wife uses it all the time for stuff. Like she was away for a minute doing some stuff with family, and she's like, I want to fix the sink. And she's like, what do you know about this? She's sending me pictures and stuff. And I'm not a plumber. I mean, I can tell you sort of like the basics. But she's like, you know what? Never mind. I'm uploading photos to Claude, and Claude's teaching me how to do it. And she did it. I mean, like this is what I'm saying. Like it's incredible how quickly we've come to this space in like a year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Like I'm building full stack web applications. Like I'm a mediocre coder. It's crazy, the acceleration. And and so Erica was able to tap into that. And let's build things that have never been built before. That's the inspiration here. That's the whole point of these conversations. Fire stuff. Ready to take a question from Daryl there?
Yes.
Yes. Unless you have anything to add, just making sure we're in the flow, right? You're good. Okay.
Good.
Right on. All good. Let's do it. We are here with Eric Smith tonight talking archaeoacoustics and beyond, building some amazing plugins for modern DAWs, digital audio workstations, and looking at ancient mathematics. What do you guys know about it? 857-6939 is the number to call. That number does work. Everything's good. Actually, wait, is it? Oh, crap. I didn't go live. Hit go live. It is live now. I promise you. Let's go to Daryl on the Discord. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Eric. How are you? And go right ahead.
Hi, Mike and Eric. This is such an interesting topic. I love it. I'm so glad you're doing this tonight. I need to listen to this again to understand what Eric was describing, but I think I got most of it. I was thinking about this, I think maybe you're right. Before there was written, I mean, if the evolution of written language happened this way, I would think that music was the first language, before there was written language. You know what I mean? Before there was even spoken language, maybe it was music, because they could be inspired by any of the nature sounds, or how to communicate what's going on, the sound of fire, the sound of water dripping, or all kinds of things would inspire them, and it would have a melody to it as well, naturally, or mathematically, as Eric described. And I would think that to recreate their songs, because they didn't have CDs or albums or eight tracks or cassettes, they would have to write something so that they could remember or share what this melody was. And that would make sense how written music kind of evolved. It makes sense, to pass it on, even though they could probably do it orally. what was that song you sang? What was the name of that song? Who did that song? Who wrote that song? I mean, after a while, it would be necessary to have something written, because there would be a big library, I would think, How did they, how did they pass on their music? I think it's such a natural part of us. You know what I'm saying? If music is a universal language. Let me think. That's about it. I think that's what I had. But how would they record it? Oh, that's right. Like, did they record it on a crystal like Superman, Would they save it on something, some kind of artifact, And I think that's the way they communicated, right?
Yeah, I mean they definitely had a whole schooling system for scribes, and at this time they were able to implement all of this on clay tablets that they would take reeds and they would cut the reed at an angle and they'd put these little angular marks in it and they would bake these tablets and stuff, and that's where they would keep track of all of the things that they had decided, mostly which was like economic stuff, but there was a lot of math and music and things like that because they were starting to map out land and stuff and watch the stars, and that was real important. So there's a lot of math in that sense. But yeah, they would keep track of it on these clay tablets, and that's exactly what I drew from at the Pennsylvania Anthropologic Museum. Is they have these tablets there that I was able to access and use the translations of to create this tuning system. So it's super authentic in that way. And you were also right too about music existing before anything else. One of the earliest instruments that we have found is a flute that's carved out of a woolly mammoth tusk that dates from the Neolithic period, which is about 10,000 years ago. So I'm using a tuning method that's about 3,500 years old, which is the first human tuning method in recorded history. But way before that, that tuning was being used, and it was used all the way back to Neolithic time, just like even before currency, there was token exchange, and before there was language, there was this music.
Right. I believe that. I believe that's true. And I would imagine, like, even the sounds, the pitch and sounds, would have a place in nature mathematically. So, the C or the chord progressions, etc., is already in nature somehow, And I think our I was singing before I spoke language when I was a little girl. When I was born, my parents told me I was always singing before, I could even speak. I was singing. So I don't know what that's about, But I think it's part of our human nature, let's say, or natural abilities. So you're born with something, It's your ability to hear music, to hear a melody in something, to recognize a melody, or to hear a bird singing and find a song in it. It's like pareidolia, maybe. It's audio pareidolia, perhaps,
Yeah, I mean, well, they tried to destroy the natural order a couple of times. The Pythagoreans definitely tried to keep the irrational number idea of pi a secret and tried to suppress it from everyone. And not that there was a huge amount of people probably interested anyway, but whoever was, they were suppressing it from. And then when Western tuning came along, to be able to do a chord change in a song, which we've heard in a lot of songs, just about every epic song has a chord change in it. That's where they sacrificed this ancient Babylonian tuning for Western tuning, because Western tuning allowed you to take all of the keys and the octave of the keyboard and transpose those into a different key so that you could play the song in a different key. And the other tuning wouldn't allow you to do that. So they left that behind because for convenience, for modern musical convenience. So now every song that you hear on the radio, every pop song, every song that's done in Western tuning, and I'm not talking about like changing A to like 433 or 430 in terms of universal tuning, but I'm talking about this first standardized human tuning set. Like none of that is in that tuning set anymore because it's completely abandoned and forgotten about, as equally as the tablets in the museum in Pennsylvania have been forgotten about.
Right.
Amen.
Wow.
Out of time, Daryl. Out of time. I appreciate the call.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for doing the show.
You were the best. Appreciate
Thanks,
you very
Daryl.
much. Daryl in New York, you know you love her. Go give her a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Daryl here. It's alphabetical, and it's done that way intentionally because follow everybody. And Daryl has been a good friend for a long time. Appreciate the questions. We're here tonight with Eric Smith. We're talking, I'm calling this before the written word, frequencies from the dawn of time. What do you know about ancient music and ancient mathematics? And how does it all come together? 702-857-6939. We got some calls to get to and some questions. Taking your calls as well. What do you know about it? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're here with Eric Smith of Hammersmith Music, and this is the topic. Very simply, before writing existed, sound was the technology. Ancient civilizations from Babylon to Malta to the Peruvian Andes encoded the deepest mathematics of reality into song, rhythm, and ritual space, and built chambers of stone that altered human consciousness through acoustic engineering alone. And Eric has built these modern plugins, these VST plugins, they're called, for a modern digital audio workstation, or DAW, that really goes back to the basis of this, the ancient mathematics of where the idea of the original music came from, which of course predates, like I said, the written word. It's of course because we were singing before we were writing, we were telling stories before we were writing, we were probably singing before we were speaking a language. So this is primordial. And not only that, it's now built into a modern space so everybody can use it. I don't know. Are you going to open source this at any point or release this for public consumption? Welcome back, Eric. How you feeling tonight? No pressure on that. Just curious if that's going to be a thing.
I am feeling well. I think at some point I'm going to maybe make them available at some upload process that people can check it out. Like, I sent a lot of these out to my producer friends, and that's how I got some of the presets. They would twiddle with the knobs and come up with something they liked or whatever, and then they would send me that file back, and I would just embed it in the code. And so they went through like a process of going to other people and seeing what they could do with it and such. So I don't know. It's like I have these processes on how I'm handling things, but I think eventually, I'm just going to give them away for free. Like if people want to donate, kind of like the Reaper model, where like, hey, you can use this as much as you want, but eventually, if you want to like throw me $50, that would be great. If not, who cares? I have no. Really, my joy has come from being able to implement the idea that's in my head for so long and having them actually be useful and usable and functional and, out into the world that they can be used. It's nice that the seed of the dream that I have is now creating other dreams from other people. And that's very gratifying as well.
Yeah, amen. Amen. You're speaking my language here with Troubled Minds, meeting people like you and all the amazing people that we know.
So throw that out there.
Go ahead. Right? Yeah.
No. I just say, so throw that out there, right? Just give it away for free, right? It didn't really matter. I mean, I would have done it anyway. Even you would have had to have like drug me out of the room. I started this on Christmas night, last Christmas, because I was just chilling in the room by myself and there was no one around. And the whole day I was like, all right, man, I'm going to see what I can code up here, and I don't know. There's like some point, there's two more things like we should go even further back in time with the other VST or talk a little deeper about the whole process or the experience of the process as well.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm into that. We got Kramos has been waiting for a long time. We got a caller as well. Let's take a couple questions and then we'll get back into that. So you lead me back into that. Please remind me, because this is important, because I clearly wasn't there with you when you're coding this, when you're doing this, the experience you went through. But I can sympathize only partially because I'm building other stuff that's incredible that I couldn't have done a year ago. So we're in the same space with that, with sort of the wonder of, wow, unreal what's happening and what's this going to look like in 6 months or a year from now. Let's go to 702-857-6939. Let's go to Kramos on the Discord. Thanks for being patient, my man. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Eric. You got a question for Eric and comment? Go right ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you, Michael, Eric. It's a wonderful topic. In fact, I came up here because yesterday I did a live stream. In fact, it was a restream of the Synapses 2026 conclave. I don't know how to say it in English. And they were in India, and they were speaking about a lot of topics, but one of them called my attention because they were exposing, one doctor in particular was exposing about neurotheology. So they were speaking about how AI can help you in your spiritual experiences. So that called my attention, and I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to your music. It's great. But I want to simply, all due respect, make a call of to be careful at the same time because of these AI's new initiatives. They have a risk in some ways that I think we as humans can be the owners of our decisions. And I mean, with that, I mean that we can build our own sounds for music, but the evil part that I'm seeing prospectively in all this is how some enterprises will use this as a weapon or as a control tool. So I appreciate your initiative. Your music is great. I'm gonna look for it because it's very interesting to use code and create something that is positive to everybody. It's not a creation of sounds that will be used to control or manipulate everybody else. And I will say that I'm sure that they will use. I've been studying, and last night I've been studying, and I know they will use this to engage people, weak people that don't know about love or light, to capture their spiritual feelings, emotions, and by that I mean the religious practices. And this can engage every aspect of a human being in terms of a children will be learning sounds through AI before he can discover by singing with his parents or by himself. So I'm not gonna, to make a long story short, I appreciate the space always, Michael, and I'm gonna send some links. I've been sending links in the chat because there's a risk, and I'm not saying that this initiative is bad. I'm saying that evil always trying to find the way to corrupt and contaminate these positive enlightenment initiatives.
Amen. Well said. Well said. Which means we should be on the game and recognize it when it's happening and be able to combat it. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call. Keep dropping those links in the chat.
Like you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
No, I agree. I agree most wholeheartedly. I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I believe that that's true and will continue to happen. And I see that as something that has happened throughout history. I know that there were people who were concerned that there would be a chain reaction in the atmosphere when they tested the first atomic bomb, but they did it anyway. I know that there was people that were not supposed to use CRISPR to make genetic alterations, and there were people who did it anyway, and who knows what's happened that we don't know about or haven't speculated on. And I think that this is absolutely something that's ripe for being used in all of the most terrible ways. And I hope it doesn't consume us. I guess it's kind of like a surfer that's riding on a wave, and you're controlling it, and you're doing well, and you're spectacular. And of course, you're always risking the moment that the whole ocean will just absolutely consume you and you're gone.
Well said. Well said, all that. And Kramos, have a final comment there?
I appreciate your words. My final comment is just if you're going to pursue these codes, I have a question. If you're thinking about building towns to heal people in terms of people who are exposed to very loud and stressful noises all day, like workers who work in the street or inside of buildings or next to very big engines and sounds of motors. Like, I think that's just one question of my idea that just came out, and I appreciate. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Be safe.
You're the best. Appreciate that. Kramos at Notables Radio on YouTube. Go give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Kramos. It's under C. Go ahead and chip on that one if you got anything to add, and then we got another call. It's been waiting a long time, and then we'll get to the rest of what you want to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone can use these things that I've just put together in a way that's going to be helpful or healing to anyone in any way, that would be fantastic. I mean, it's almost too much to ask for that it's something that exists and I can use, more to ask for that I've heard other people do other stuff with it. To imagine that somebody would be using it for healing purposes to people that way would be phenomenal. Like I would hope that would be really cool. I don't know if I'm that cool, but I hope so. I hope that's the case, man.
Yeah, one day. Hey, one day we'll be the coolest of them all. You'll see. You'll see. Hold my beer. We're taking a call tonight. We're here with Eric Smith of Hammersmith Music and talking about archaeoacoustics and beyond. How deep and how weird does this get? We're going to definitely tackle that in just a second. We got some one more phone caller to get to. We are taking your calls tonight. If you got a quick comment and question for Eric, that would be, of course, 702-857-6939. Let's go to the phone line. What's going on? What's your first name? Where are you calling from? You are on Troubled Minds with Mike and Eric. Go right ahead. Okay, sorry about that. That's unfortunate because it sounded like he was going to get somewhere really good really fast. Yeah, so just a reminder, guys. So we're on just a smidge of a delay. So if you have like the stream running in the background on YouTube or something, it's gonna screw with your head because you'll hear yourself like a second delayed or a second and a half or something, and it screws with you. Like it happens in a thing like it's just an audio thing. You get a few millisecond delay, a couple 100 millisecond delay, and it screws with you. So yeah, if you want to call back, no problem. I'm watching the phone lines. We'll get you in here and just recognize, mute the YouTube, get on the phone line. You can hear us on the phone line, so you don't have to listen to that stream. You can listen to us straight through the phone line when you call in. So anyway, so 702-857-6939 is the line to call. And sorry about that. Looking to hear from you if you got a question or if you want to put it in the chat or you want to give us a call back. Okay, Eric, you wanted to lead us into some deeper, interesting math here when it comes to the mathematical aspect of the plugins you built and the deeper music from the dawn of time, these frequencies from the dawn of time. Lead me down that path. What does it look like?
Well, I wanted to lead you down the time path. We've been talking about things that border on 3,500 years old and music that goes back further into Neolithic times. But let's talk about this VST Stoichen, which is the base element of things, right? So the way this thing works, it's not a musical instrument. It doesn't make sound. It's a filter. So it filters whatever sounds you're putting through it. And it's based on, and I know, so how many times you've probably heard me go on and on about subatomic forces and particles and things, about color theory and stuff. But you know how, there's 4 forces to the universe, and there's like electromagnetism, and there's gravity, and there's the strong and weak force, right? And each of them have a boson, which is a force-carrying subatomic particle. So electromagnetism has the proton, and the weak force has the WZ boson, and then the strong force has the gluon, which is the boson which governs that force. And we haven't found the graviton yet for that, but we're going to find it. But anyway, the constituent components of the atom is that the gluons hold the neutrons and the protons together, right? And that's the nucleus of an atom. And then there's the electron that orbits that. So like on the periodical table of elements, that's hydrogen is the first one. It's got 1 proton, 1 neutron at the core, and 1 electron that circles it, right? And then it goes up. And as you go up that chart, you're adding more neutrons and protons to the core, and you're adding more electrons. So these electrons, when they jump orbits, because they're like more like energy shells than they're really orbits, right? And that's where the first time anyone coined the phrase quantum jump or quantum leap. It was in describing how these electrons would just disappear from one orbit and reappear in the other orbit, and there wouldn't be no in between about it. So when this happens, when they go down in orbit, they shed a particular frequency of light, depending upon what the atom is. If it's an atom of whatever element, like hydrogen or helium or iron or gold or whatever. And the frequency of the light that this emit is like a fingerprint. And I basically took those frequencies and shifted them down 40 octaves so that they would be within the hearing range, and made a periodical table of element. You could just select an element and you can hear what that light would sound like at the audible level. If you were either shrunk down to the subatomic scale, or if it was expanded into the macro world, it would make this sort of a frequency as it would go through the atmosphere, just like lightning does, right? So, and then I took subatomic particles that were made in things like the Large Hadron Collider, and they only last for microseconds because they have so many electrons and protons and neutrons shoved into them. They evaporate in milliseconds. And so no one has ever seen the light that these emit, but I've used white papers from scientists that's done quantum theory experiments and relativistic views of these things decaying to extrapolate what the frequencies would be, and was able to put those on the table as well. So it's basically just a weird filter that is based on actual science, and I was able to take all of that from Knowledge, and they have a whole section there for spectral data that you can access, and you can find out what all these spectrums are, shift them down 40 octaves, and then throw them in a filter. And then have controls and stuff like for red shifting effects or for temperature effects on how that excites the state of the molecules.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of is there's the meme, right? Like nobody can hear you scream in space, right? Because there's no actual sound in space. I wonder if it's sort of that looking at the elements, the table of elements, is if you could, like, maybe this is sort of what you would hear in space, right? Does that make some sense? Sort of like all the things kind of coalescing out into the universe. And if you could actually hear that resonant energy kind of coming through your eardrum that creates the sound, the human sound as we perceive it, maybe this is what that stuff would sound like in a vacuum if that thing could actually be a true aspect of, hearing you scream in space. And when I was watching that and looking at all your documentation, I was like, damn, this guy went deep. So definitely that thought came to mind, and I wanted to bring that up as part of this conversation tonight. Can they hear you scream in space? And if so, or if not, how does it fit into the periodic table of sounds that you've created?
Yeah. I mean, even planets make sound and stuff. If you consider gravity waves traveling through a medium of space-time, and we're able to detect those, and you can speed those up to hear what they sound like, and they've actually done that. So I mean, basically, as we started off in the beginning, all of this is frequency, right? Like frozen frequency is matter, moving frequency is energy and displacement and vibration. So all of these things are connected, and there's no real difference between the future and the past. These things are constituent, fundamental, undeniable truisms of the reality that we live in, whether we understand it or not. This is the mathematics, and this is the constituent components that we are able to see at this moment and understand. And this is the frequency that they operate at, right? And we're smart enough monkeys that we're able to be like, hey, let's shift that down 40 octaves to see what that sounds like. That's great, man. Let's just do that for each element. And now we've got a filter bank, and that's pretty cool. I was even able to do presets under certain circumstances, like a hydrogen star shining through a nebula that had a high amount of iron in it, for instance. Like, I was able to come up with presets by combining these variables, and it's really weird, man. But it's like that's what I was thinking. Like, I can't believe that people haven't thought to do this, because it's not difficult to think of it. And and getting to what we were talking about earlier too, like, to do this, I had to connect Claude to my computer, and I had to also install other environments on the computer, like Microsoft Visual Studio, install to make installs, and all this other software, right? And figure out what was up with all of that. And then, even as brilliant as this thing is at coding, it could be completely dumb in instances. Like, being like a third session discussion about what we're doing and how we're implementing it, and it's time to build the actual software from the writing of the code, and it's like somehow it forgot where Microsoft Visual Studio was on my hard drive, and it's looking in C, and it can't find it in C, and it's like, man, maybe I need to do a deeper approach, and it starts looking deep in C, and it's not there, and it's like, maybe I need to do a broader approach, and it goes over the D, and I'm like, stop it. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I'm looking for, it's right here, man, where it's been the whole time. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And then it builds. Like, it will be in the middle of something, and it will just completely forget where stuff is on my hard drive, or it will try to install in the generic VST folder, which is normally on C, and it's like, look, man, I've told you 1,000 times I don't want anything on C. All right, boss, that's right, nothing on C, I got you. And then, like, it will do it, but sometimes it just burns like my credits and my tokens, just like looking around, and like, it's like an employee you got to keep after, right? And it's very Star Trek too. It's like you have to know what you're asking for. And unfortunately, I understand music and history and these things, right? And I'm asking for these things, and it knows what's up. So it's quick at translating that into a code that we can use. And we discuss back and forth, hey, should this word be here? Should this word be in Greek? All of these things, man. And we go through these iterations. Phases. Yeah, it's very Star Trek. I'm sure you thought of this, create a project, and then in the project you put all the files you wanted. It stays on track better. Anyway, we're talking, I'm calling this Before the Written Word, Frequencies from the Dawn of Time. We're here with Eric Smith of Hammersmith Music, and we're taking your calls. What do you know about archaeoacoustics? What do you know about the ancient mathematical aspect of sound itself? That's what's on our mind tonight. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We got looks like Jen on the line. We got more from Eric, and possibly James as well. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're here with Eric Smith talking, frequencies from the dawn of time, I'm calling this, and the golden ratio, and prime numbers, and mathematical aspects of what music actually is. Except not the modern way, the ancient way, and bringing those ideas together in a single conversation. That's what this is about. That's the whole point of this, is kind of looking at these ideas together and considering what we don't know. And that's where, the true fringe of a conversation or an idea exists, is looking at old things in new ways. Because, hey, newsflash, for all the science and the people out there doing good science, and I'm not one of those guys that's like, science, moo, boo. Science has, again, helped us an unbelievable amount in the modern day. But also, shocker, all of the scientific theories and aspects haven't been tested or put to the test, or all the rest of the stuff. And so suddenly we can all kind of just do things, as I've been saying. So look, it's not an AI show. We're only halfway hyping it up in some ways. There are dangers, as Cramo said, a fantastic call earlier. Look, I don't know. If I knew where this headed, I'd just tell you where we're going to end up. But I don't know. But I do know, the thing I do know is that positive momentum and positive intention means something. So let's continue that together. And if that's all we can control, then let's control that. That's what's on my mind tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. A lot of ways to look at this, going way back to beyond archaeoacoustics and even possibly the frequencies from the beginning of the universe. Welcome back, Eric Smith. Thanks for being patient with me and my rambling. You're on Troubled Minds, back again. How you feeling? And what else do we got? What did we miss tonight that you think we should add for the final segment here?
Again, it's like the relationship going back and forth with the AI is an interesting thing. Everything that, as I went along through the process, it became imperative that the right extensions were installed for access, and it was imperative that we broke things into phases, so that like phase 0 is a planning phase that includes research and looking for license issues, and then phase 1 is where code starts to be written. And as you go through these phases, which are slightly different for each project, they each have their stumbling points and places where things don't work out, or you're testing something and it's like, man, that doesn't work. It worked that time, now it's not working again. It's like you're passing this back and forth trying to get it right. And once you get it right, you can move on, and you've got to keep track of where you're at in the overall plan. And you can only use one conversation per phase. Like, you have to hand off to a new iteration of Claude when you switch to another phase. So you have to prepare a document that asks the next iteration to keep in its head the ancient mathematics, the philosophy of what we're doing, and how you make whatever it is we're making, how you code that. And there's a lot of times that overflows its buffer, and it completely will, in the middle of coding, just stop and shut down because it can't keep all of that in its head at once. And you have to kind of restart it and show it screenshots and be like, this is what you were doing. And then it has to look at, okay, yeah, I see where I was at. And then you got to kind of guide it along, or it will just completely come to a halt. So it's like, you can't just set it up and hit a button and walk away. You have to watch what it's doing. You have to make sure it's not going somewhere dumb on your drive, like lost and wandering around. You have to make sure it's implementing the plan that we started, and that we're following a regimented pattern, and that you know what you're asking for, or it's just going to be a dismal mess.
Yeah, agreed. Context windows are a thing, and you got to kind of pay attention to that. It's really weird. You're talking to you're locked in, you're talking to Claude, and he's like just slaying stuff, and then suddenly he's like, well, what do you mean? And you're like, no, what do you mean? Like we were just slaying it, and now you just got lost. It's absolutely wild. So the caller that couldn't get through. So here's he says, I was going to ask him about the Hertz frequency and if his work had anything to do with frequency in the music and what the frequency of his music is, and if it's programmed or not. So did you get that question? I can read it again. Sorry, I read that poorly.
No. I got that. I think I got that. So basically, there's a couple of different frequencies depending on what we're talking about. Like if we're talking about ancient sites, those have specific frequencies that fall within a range of 111 hertz to 125 hertz. So there's this narrow frequency range, and this has been recorded through the Great Pyramid King's Chamber, the Hypergeum, Stonehenge, Chavan de Hattar, and Newgrange, right? They found these frequencies that resonate. So that's what this is attempting to do. And if you use it, then yeah, it's going to generate those frequencies. Have I been doing that since I've made these plugins? Yeah. Before I made these plugins, no, not so much. Before I made these particular VSTs, I was using store-bought VSTs from companies that are huge companies in Germany and France, and I was using their VSTs, and spending a lot of money on it. And I had like over 100 that I'm using all the time, and none of them did any of this. So no, I couldn't do it before, and that was part of why I wanted to do it. I'm like, why should I be confined? I can only be confined by what these companies do. Dictate and want, as long as I don't have the power to change that. This gave me the power to change that, and it was the first thing I changed.
Amen. And let's keep changing things. Let's keep building things that don't exist yet. That's the whole point of not just this conversation, but the larger conversation of the AI space. And look, I get it. I get the risks. I also get that there's we're on the fence here. We're sort of on the precipice of what could be that Star Trek future. So don't give up hope, guys. I mean, one of the things we have left in a wide and wicked world is hope. So just remember that all those things may not come to pass as the doomsayers predict. Let's test the phone line real quick again. If it's broken, we got 2 calls on here. Not sure why. I think this one's Jen. I'm not sure if she hung up. Jen, are you there? Test 1, 2. Nope. Okay. It just died. The entire thing died. Okay. Let's go to the other call. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? If it's broken, sorry about that. We'll go to James. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Nothing. Okay. Yeah. I think, okay. The phone line is broken. We'll call it broken. Oh, actually, hold on. It logged me out. Logging back in. Hold on. Give it 1 second here. 1 second. Test 1, 2. Connecting. This is something I coded myself, so you got to give me some leeway here. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Yeah, nothing. Phone is broken. Thank you guys for testing it. Sorry about that. I will go back to the drawing board. I promise you. We tested this last night and everything was working. Matter of fact, let's go to James, who was there proving that everything was working last night. James, thanks for being patient, brother. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Eric. What do you got for us tonight? And please back me up that everything was working last night, about 24 hours ago right now.
Yeah, it was literally almost 20 minutes from now or so. 30 minutes yesterday. Well, anyway, time is weird. But no, it did work. I heard Mike through the phone, not just through Discord. So, yeah, and technology is weird. I said in the chat, and this is so true, every show has technical difficulties. I do not care what show it is. Period.
It happens. All good. I just wanted you to back me up because we literally tested everything, stress tested everything, whatever, blah, blah, yada, yada. It's in the rear view at this point. We'll fix it tomorrow. What do you got on your mind? What do you got for Eric? And what are your thoughts on the topic tonight?
This has been amazing, Eric. You're doing things that are amazing. I'm very focused on sound because of my low vision. I don't know anything about the frequencies or any of how all that works or what the numbers are or any of that, but this whole conversation has me thinking about silence and what silence is like. Is there such a thing as silence? Because I can tell you, my entire life, I've never really heard absolute silence. And I'm just curious what you think about that and what that means, where sound is coming from, if it's not from devices around us or animals around us or whatever is going on. I feel like I don't think I've ever heard complete silence.
No, you're not likely to ever hear that because frequencies that you can't hear, like IR frequencies, infrared frequencies that you can't hear, will absolutely affect frequencies that you can hear, changing them slightly. So you also always hear your nervous system. They have built anabolic chambers, which are chambers that absorb all sound, and you can get in these chambers or even depth perception tanks that are filled with salt water and that sort of thing, and you can and you hear, what you hear is the resonant frequency of your own nervous system, whatever that's tuned to. If you would say that the aura that you produce is attuned to your particular DNA, then you could say that the frequency that you're hearing at all times when everything is taken away is your own particular frequency from your own brainwave emissions and nervous system. So yeah, I mean, and it's really hard to get rid of the really low level, I think they're called P signals that happen through the earth when there's tectonic plate movement. They're either S or P. I think they're P. Those are these really deep, low frequencies that you can hear and feel at the same time and affect you, and exclude the idea of silence. And then, of course, you got to exercise getting rid of your own thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about that. That makes sense because when certain devices are on, even if there's no screen, they don't have like a screen, or they have one that's not turned on yet, or it's not showing anything yet, I can still usually hear them. Everything that's, in my apartment that is electronic, I can basically hear where it's at. So I find that fascinating. I'm wondering if it was difficult at all in any way for you to do everything that you've done here, knowing that there is no silence, and if you had to compensate for that in some way, or just what your thoughts are on that as well.
It's more like I think I feel like I was compelled to do this because these are things that my mind has been troubled about for a long time, and I've wanted to be able to incorporate and experience and experiment with. So I was very driven to do it. And in fact, I'm still very much there completing this last VST because I've almost completely stopped writing music unless it's in the capacity of making a demonstration of some of the VST's qualities that I've done and testing it out. But I think that we talked about music being developed in the Neolithic period when they were carving flutes out of woolly mammoth tusks, and it was sometime after that we started building structures like Stonehenge and Göbekli Tepe that affected the things that the music that we were making. It was the acoustic reverberations and refractions of sound in these places that really accumulated with things like the Hypergeum and Greek theaters and stuff like that, where acoustics were amplified in certain ways, and ritual demonstrations occurred musically and probably with chemicals as well in a lot of these ritualistic spaces. So if those things existed in a world that had the same amount of sound, background noise that is at least out in nature today, not like in a big city or anything, then I think that it would, that these plugins will still produce that same effect. If you got a good pair of headphones with a good pair of magnets, or you're using some good speakers or something, and you're in that stereo field, I think you'll still get that ritualistic effect. At least that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. I do think that so much of what is considered anomalous out there does involve sound. When people hear voices, or even some people just hear just a sound, just like they'll think of it as a hum or a noise And sometimes it's a positive thing, other times it's a negative thing. So all this does connect to everything. And I think that was all I had. So thank you for doing this show and taking my questions.
Thank you.
You're the best. Appreciate you very much, James. Thanks for helping me test the thing, even though it broke today. I don't know. Maybe we'll test tomorrow if you got some time. I appreciate you very much. Have a great night, my man.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
You know me, love him. Salcido Paranormal. SALSIDO Paranormal.com. Go check out the website. He's the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, a dear friend, the glue of the show, and pops in to help me if nobody's here. Is very brief, as you can tell. If we got action and there's a guest and stuff. James is amazing. If you're not following James, you're hurting my feelings at this point. Please go follow his podcast. Go listen to the things he's doing, and he's doing a collaborative with Ricky on Sunday nights as well. And I'm not sure. I tried to tune in tonight, by the way, with Jen and Ricky and James over on Anything Is Possible Beyond the Possible. And those links were broken, by the way. I should have said something earlier, but I tried to listen and it wasn't working. But anyway, appreciate you very much, James. Thanks so much. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Help the people here. That's the point. Is let's build a larger community of. Look, maybe you can barely tolerate me. Cool, fine. Stay for the amazing people, because there's a lot of really great people that make this show go. So. Yeah, Ricky was having issues. Okay, I see that, James. Cool. Yeah, because I tried to listen, but I couldn't. I was, putting the show together. But anyway, okay. So Eric, a question for you then. Going through all this stuff, and I was thinking about this, and I did bring it up earlier. That sort of Monroe Institute bit. Do you think that there's maybe like a technological end to this audio space, where maybe like are you going to start testing binaural stuff? Are you going to maybe create plugins that'll allow you to literally just go to the astral? I mean, what is the end of this in your mind? And do you think that is possible, where suddenly one day happens, which might be next week or something, somebody builds a technological VST for a DAW that boom, you're binaural and you're out of body? You think this is possible? You think this is coming and it can be scientifically verified? Or you think that's a reach?
Well, by next week, I'll either be a missing person or a vegetable, I guess.
Let's hope that's not the case, because we love having you here.
Either I'll phase out of existence or I'll destroy my brain. No, I don't know, man. No, this has been like a cathartic release, man, for me. I mean, that's what it's been like. And maybe that's the worst kind of villain that you can be in this situation. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally consumed with my cathartic release of building these things and expressing these ideas. And maybe that is to an extent giving over to the overlord. I don't know. Or perhaps it's just a tool that I've used to do something that I couldn't do before, like any tool you use to do something you can't do without that tool. I don't know, man, but I'm probably going to complete that 5th VST, and after that, I feel like I should stop doing it for a while, because it certainly is addictive, and it's something that I don't want to spend all of my time doing. And I don't, for me, this has been much like a big puzzle. Like, hey, what do I have to have on my system? What do I got to do? What do I got to know? How can I have, I'm really hard on it, man. I'm like, keep this philosophy in your head, keep this math in your head, and now code this out, and I'm just like a terrible taskmaster. But in the end, there's these results, and it's very addictive. And so I think for a while, I'm just going to chill and enjoy the thing that I created and write some music with it, see what other people think. It's not something I think about putting out. I would give it to anyone, but the thing is, it's such an uncertain thing, right? It's only been tested on my system, my operating system. It's only been tested on Reaper and Machina. There's a dozen other kinds of dolls out there. I can't guarantee anything. I can't explain to anybody why something would go right or go wrong in the code base, because I know very little about that. I can talk all night, obviously, about the concept behind the project, but it's not something I can make any guarantees about. And I think there's even some laws that say that you can't actually trademark anything that's made or code it with an AI. There is some concern about that. So, and who if I say, hey, yeah, here's an install package, just install this on your computer, go ahead, you can trust me. It's like, first of all, can you trust me? Second of all, if you do, can you trust my coding still won't screw up your system? I don't know. I can't make that guarantee. So I don't know. It's like I've just given it to my friends, and they've even been suspicious, right? But ultimately, it worked, and things are fine. But the main thing is that the important thing, I think, is that this math permeates the human condition and the human experience. And this is what scientists mean when they say, when you start really looking into the physics and the superstring theories and things like that, that you can find evidence for coding. They're talking about this because things are so relegated and so obviously spaced out in very particular ways that it's super crazy to think that this wasn't constructed in some way. And it's all very deterministic, except for these ghosts in the machine, these things like pi that creeps up, that leaks data in the simulation, right? And this means that we're all connected in some way, not just with the constituent components of the universe, which is what Storkion is trying to show, but in the sense that on every level, we are a part of this simulation, whatever it is, in frequency, in matter, and in thought. And that's the thing that I guess I'm trying to express in this music and in this creation of these VSTs, that these are ancient principles that people found out a long time ago, and they got lost because they were suppressed for various reasons, for convention and other things. And so I think that I want to embrace them. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I want to embrace these things and experiment with these things and see what happens and where it takes me.
Amen. And I'm here for it. I want to know. I'm with you. I'm lucky to count you as a friend, as are we all. Keep doing good stuff, man. That's what this is about. Kind of challenging ourselves, not just about what we desire to make, but then notice too. I want to compliment you that you said you kind of don't want to get lost in this, like, because it's easy to get lost in sort of the dopamine fix of chasing things that are not real until you make them real, right? And then when you make them real, that dopamine hit is like 10x. So it's very, very important, guys, to recognize. And I've talked about this in the past as the armor of God. Find it, because chasing the dopamine of easy hits is it leads us down a very dark path. And that's the point, and you said that earlier about yourself. Quick question for you. You can a quick comment, and then we'll wrap this up. But Linda wants to know in the chat, what's up? Shout out Dragon Rose. Is Eric familiar with Robert Edward Grant? Is that a name that rings a bell or not?
No, it does not.
Same here. I don't know who that is. So we'll have to look that up, and we'll get back to you. Thanks for the question, Linda. Yeah, look, I don't know. You know me. Look, the whole point, Eric knows me, like we've talked a lot, and not just online on the show here, but sort of offline in personal conversations. Like, we're on the same page a lot, and that's good. But the point is, with these conversations, is to talk to each other. Okay. Remember, regardless of the AI and all the acceleration and all the things we always do talk about, this is a human space. This is about imperfection. This is about us dreaming. This is about us growing. This is about us building together. Okay, so don't forget that. That's what Troubled Minds has always been. That's what Troubled Minds will always be. You will not show up one night and find an AI Michael Strange. I'm a human. I'll be here until I can't be here anymore, and that's that. Final thought, my friend. Got a minute or couple 2.5 left. If you got anything to add regarding anything we talked about tonight. Thanks again for being here.
Final thought is creating software on the hard drive of my computer that I would have been happy to pay $200 for and got a thrill for. Doing that is the closest thing in this reality that I've come to of actual alchemy, of actual hermetic alchemy, using specific incantations, in a sense, to achieve something physical in the end. It's crazy.
And I'm looking forward to when the alchemy happens, because remember, it's all accelerating. I'm building stuff. You're building stuff. Everybody's building stuff. I saw a chart today, just real quick before we started. I was kind of just cruising X, and somebody said that like they had this whole graph, and they were like, only like 1% of the population has even really coded with an LLM, or maybe even less than that, like 0.5% or something. So like we're still early. Like don't feel like, wow, what are these guys talking about? This is way over my head. Go get Claude. Just go talk to it. It's free. Go get it and talk to it and think about something you want to build that you didn't have the capacity to build. Not because you couldn't, you didn't have the time to learn it or whatever, and just ask it questions. Could you help me build this? And it will do it. Be like, okay, great. Where do we start? And you tell it. Say, take it slow, one step at a time. I'm telling you, you might be shocked. You might be shocked. Brother, you are the best. I appreciate it very much. If you choose to sell those, you let me know. Links are in the description down below. Please follow Eric in all the places. Hammersmith Music, links, troubledminds.org/friends. The links are right there on top too in the description tonight. So please look, help these amazing people with these amazing thoughts that are just doing amazing things, being amazing humans. And appreciate you very much, brother. Thanks for peeling out some time. Thanks for building something sweet. Thanks for recognizing that that dopamine hit can be dangerous, and maybe recognizing that we need to back off a little bit here and there, and putting that message out there for me and for the rest of us. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you. You're the best. Please follow him. All the places, all the things, troubledminds.org/friends, right there on top, Hammersmith Music. Go check his stuff out. If he does release these, you'll be the first to know. We'll drop it in the Discord. So if you haven't joined the Discord yet, shameless Discord plug, troubledminds.org. Join the Discord. Many of you have. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. Answers few, questions many. That's exactly the point. That's why I do this. That's why I show up and talk about these ideas. That's why it's attracted such smart friends. What does that mean? You tell me. What does that mean? I don't know, because the answers are few. Appreciate you very much, brother. That's it. It's over. We shorten the shows because I find myself rambling into a third hour. So that's that. Please, if you do release this stuff, let us know, and we'll. Yeah, you've labored through some of it, so I know you know. I can expose myself, and it's happened. But yeah, if you release that stuff, let us know. But please, in the meantime, go follow him in all the places. Listen to his music, and if you do, by the way, if you create more music, sort of peel off the creation space of the VSTs and start making more music with it, please let us know. Drop it in. Come share it in the Discord, because I want to hear what this resonant space actually represents. So please do that, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
You were the best. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends. Start with Eric. Start with James. Start with all the people that make this show go. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. This is not a political show. It's just not. We're not going to do that. Everybody else does that, and I get it. It's the easy dopamine. It's the easy way to go viral. It's easy to pick a side and just make false arguments. But recognize what happens when you're, as part of this space, you kind of defer the truth and ask, well, what are the possibilities instead? It's cathartic. It opens your mind in a lot of ways, and it has for me, meeting all you people, you amazing people. That's it. I don't know. Answers few, questions many. That's the whole point of this. And that's it. As we finish, look, it goes exactly like this. We'll be back on Tuesday night with Matzal, the Temple of the Owl, talking the conspiracy connections of all the things. What does that mean? You ever seen that meme with Sonny in Philadelphia with the guy and he's got the strings on the wall and the map and stuff yeah, we're going to be talking about that on Tuesday with Temple of the Owl. That's Matthew in California. And looking forward to that. And once again, look, as part of this family, if you guys have a show idea and you want to talk about something, and just reach out to me. I'd rather talk to you guys that are here as part of this than some rando. Because I get 30 to 40 people emailing me every month trying to sell their books. That's cool, but I kind of rather talk to you guys. You've been here supporting me. I'd rather support you. And that's it. That's that. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure. Be strong. Be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.